All right. All right. Nordco instruction part manual. Machine grinder model DG, serial number sold to order number, part number, Nordberg equipment. And then flexible shaft maintenance and lubrication instruction. In order to develop a great understanding of the flexible shaft operation, it's very few. The following general information has provided. The standard core assembly of 9606.00001 measures 114.375 over 114 over 250. Overall, it's 6.25 in diameter. Key tag fitting is swagged at each end of this core. The assembly is necessary transverse flexibility, torsional stiffness, ensure with a satisfactory trouble-free service operational under the maximum load with grinder. Recommendation: flexible core assembly with left-hand operation should be operated with a left-hand rotation. Visible assure whether the proper core assembly is being used. The core winding must have the appearance of the right-hand screw thread. Left-hand rotation can be verified in straddling flexible shaft for railing toward the grinding wheel of the end of the shaft. The rotation of the core must be counterclockwise. The flexible shaft causing 9606.0002 provides a continuous grade for the flexible core shell, enabled to run true with the operate smoothly. The casting also prevents the core of the looping operating under the grind loads. With the core properly assembled, the casing, the core will be protected against the damage. For the external source will remain properly lubricated overall length. Casing in 9606.0002 properly 107.500 over 107.375 inches. The casing has one end fitting design, allowing sufficient adjustment in the event of the casing stretches. Casing stretches. The adjustment is provided with the two retaining rings. The case end of the assembly of the engine countershaft. The adjustment necessary to maintain the correct operating length. Casing, which refers to the core length, which is the core causes the assembly of the countershaft with the handpiece attached to the opposite end of the shaft, specifically the dimension obtained. The dimension will provide between the shoulder of the core fitting the clear of the core float sufficient to prevent binding of the core with the casing. Figure 1 shows the total end of the clearance may be divided between the countershaft assembly end of the handpiece, the countershaft assembly, and the flex core assembly. Each time the core is removed from the casing with the cleaning, renewing, lubrication, check to be made with the casing length with the reference into the core length as follows. Insert the flexible shaft into the countershaft as described above. Press the core all the way to this casing as so the drive key and the counter spindles contacts the end of the key in the counter fitting. Measure the amount of tip exposed for the one fitting extends beyond the handpiece of the end of the casing of the new core casing, but both stop rings should be in place with the provided with the groove. Placing the grooves provided with the counter shaft at the end of the casing, making a measurement, and the core should extend beyond the casing approximately 3 to 3 1/8 of an inch. In the case of the coring has surface distance measured less than 1/3 of an inch, remove the first stop ring from the end of the casing, inserting the casing in the counter shaft. Adapt the until the second stop ring is contacted. All flexible shaft has been in service for some time following the first adjustment. Casing may stretch to the point where the second adjustment is necessary. When casing the stretch so that the core extends 1 3/4 of an inch beyond the casing, it is necessary to remove both stop rings. Insert the casing all the way into the counter shaft adapter. The two adjustment above the compensating the 2 1/8 of an inch casket stretch is doubtful the casing will ever stretch beyond the amount. The proper adjustment of casing stretch is important if it is to be not made, but the core fittings will not have sufficient contact damage to them will result. It was also very important to have that adjusted not to be made too soon because they will make the casing too short with respect to the core length. Would obviously crimp the core and cause damage to the core and casing. The flexible shaft used for the grinder has been selected to meet accepted requirements of both engine and grinding operation. Cars have been taken selected spreads of both grinding wheels and engine, based specifically on engineering information covering the operation. The speed correct quarter with a permanent plate attached to the machine locating vision visible to the operator and observers. Warning: do not exceed recommended speed. Exceeding recommended speed can result in personal injury and property damage. The flexible shaft is designed to made with a given elastic performance with proper care by the following few simple instructions. The utmost service will be obtained. Flexible shaft assembly should always be operated on large as radius as possible. Operation of the shaft in an arc smaller than 10 inches radius will shorten the life of the core of the casing. Care must be taken to prevent dirt, moisture, abrasive dirt, and other foreign substances from contacting core surfaces. 3. When not in the flexible shaft should be stored in the tray and away from the possible damage contamination. Do not subject the shaft to unnecessary overloads or shock. This is liable to helixing the core, resulting with a shaft failure. 5. When necessary to remove the grinder, do not use flexible shaft as a tow rope. Pulling and producing longitudinal strains and causing the strains of the casing carrying the flexible shaft will never possible. Never force fittings attachments to shaft assemblies. Turn fittings slowly until the key drops into the key way. If this does not occur smoothly or readily disassemble and investigate. Care must be taken not to over-lubricate or observe the lubrication instructions to ensure the proper operation and long shaft life. Lubrication. The flexible shaft release for the grinder requires only a minimum of maintenance. Be sure the trouble-free operation follow lubrication items should be understood but observed. 1. The core assembly should be greased approximately every month. This is only a guide. The grinder is being used 8 to 10 hours per day on the continuous service. The core should be inspected at regular weekly intervals. Whether the shaft operates on long periods where it's being constantly flexed or operated, it must be inspected more often. Never allow the core to dry. On the other hand, do not over-lubricate. Proper lubrication of the shaft assembly is essential to maximum life of both the core and casting. Recommended use of the Houghton PA non-fluid oil or high-quality grade of medium weight cup grease. Use of the proper quality lubricant will only reduce the shaft life. Poor quality lubricant will only reduce the shaft life. 3. Lubricate core assembly. Move the flexible shaft assembly from the countershaft to the end of the engine. Withdraw from the core from the handpiece of the casing and grease the holding in some hand and then pulling the core through the grease while it is being fed back into the casing. Care must be taken to prevent the dirt and lint and abrasive material from contaminating the grease. 4. Take care not to excessively lubricate the core. As long as the core is slightly filmed with lubricating throughout the entire length, you will have a satisfactory frictionless operation. Excessive lubrication will cause the grease and churn, the resulting in heating. The heating will be detrimental to both the core and casing. Flexible shaft should be removed the casing after 160 hours of service. Clean old grease off the core and kerosene with the dry wire fitted with a section of lintless cloth. Clean of the old grease out of the casing. Allow the core to dry through before lubricating. Be careful that the dust and moisture and abrasive material collects on the core. When replacing the core and the casting after each 160-hour cleaning operation, reverse the position of the core end of which formerly the countershaft power takeoff should be switched from the handpiece to the end of the casing. This core is reversible. Both fittings are identical. The procedure will assist in improving the life of the core, and also since the handpiece end of the shaft is usually given the most severe service. Alright, the handpiece connection with the casing is designed with a quick change with the straight handpiece with the right angle handpiece. The quick change coupling acts at the ball bearing swivel to uncouple either the handpiece with the casing, pressing the casing, release the lock sleeve away from the casing, permitting the seal balls to drop into the groove machined on the inside of the sleeve. With the draw handpiece, will release the casing, release the lock sleeve, which will be returned in the normal position due to the pressure of the tension spring. Which reconnect the handpiece, press the release lock sleeve forward and insert the casing end. The end of this and the end that has 5/16 of an inch wide machine groove, approximately 5/8 of an inch from the end into the coupling. Release the sleeve, and which will return to the normal position. Lubrication of the Nordco 96060023 handpiece and 9606-005 M piece assembly. And the type of all the ball bearings and the handpiece of the countershaft is not necessarily impossible to lubricate the bearings. 2 seal bearings used in above assemblies have sufficient grease lubrication to last the life of the bearings when operated with normal conditions. These seal bearings are primarily employed to keep the dirt and emery grit of the bearings and also to serve the retaining the adequate supply of lubricate. Seal ball bearings in conjunction with the labyrinth seal exclude any of the possibility of dirt and emery grit entering the bearings. Since the bearings will seal on both sides, should not be washed and cannot be re-lubricated, there is no reason for disassemble these units until the excessive end of the radial plate develops and the bearings have to be replaced. Lubrication of the Nordco 9606-0024 right angle handpiece. The bearings used in the 9606-0024 right angle head are all the single seal type. The labyrinth seals incorporated with the main spindle further eliminate the dirt and grit from entering the grease housing bearings. The bearings are finished lubricated with the proper amount of the grease for the corrective operation. Normally they require no further attention. And advisable and necessary to intervals with 6 months to check the lubrication into the gear chamber. While it's almost impossible for the gear grease for the work that its way to pass the bearings and labyrinth seal with the main spindle with the grease that can be contained with the grains of the metal pulverized scale due to normal wear of the Harding spiral bevel gears. There is also possibility of the grease lubricating becoming hard carbonized due to excessive heat resulting from overload. Therefore, undesirable inspection of the gear and grease 6-month interval. The grease is badly discolored and hardened, then the head should be disassembled. All the old grease carefully cleaned off of the gear's bearing surface inside of the housing. And before assembling the right angle head, fill the gear chamber with a housing of 1/3 of the full with a high quality gear grease. A good way to determine whether or not there is sufficient good grease and the greater chamber to remove the grease plug with the right angle of the casting. Observe the movement of the grease and with the head operation. If you notice the quantity of the grease is sufficient to cover the gear mounted onto the main spindle, it will not be necessary to add more lubrication. Your accessory flexible shaft grinders 9606007 cup wheel guard includes the flange of 32354776. 9606011 sliding guide assembly 9606014 couple wheel surface appliance including flange range of 32356576 flange nut 51635441 and wrench 878 07705 9606022 freehand surface guard 9606023 straight hand piece 9606024 right hand piece includes adjustable spanner wrench for number 482 9606033 guard for the 8-inch double cup wheel 9606087 safeguard includes the two flanges of the 3235 and 3201. Accessories to be used in the straight hand piece of 9606023, 0007 cup wheel guard and 0011 sliding guide assembly, 0033 guard of the 8-inch double cup wheel, 0087 safety guard. Accessories to be used with the right angle hand piece 9606024. 9606014 couple wheel surface appliance 9606022 free hand surfacing guard. Note, when accessories are ordered in the time purchase of the grinder, the necessary flange nuts, and special wrenches, etc. are furnished at no additional charge. However, the accessories are purchased separately, they will be charged for these parts. And then instruction for ordering repairs. This partial book becomes identified with all the parts comprising the Nordco Railway machine in 3 ways: part by part number, part name, by appearance. The part list contains a breakdown of the equipment, the major assemblies, sub-assembly details, the aid and identify the part appearance. Each part is indexed and illustrated with the assembly, which is the part. The first column of the parts list containing items number, which serve as the cross-reference between the listed parts and the same parts is illustrated. Indentation. The indentation is part of the description column, indicates the relationship with the part of the assembly of which it is part. For example, any part identified beneath the assembly is either as a detailed part or in a portion of the assembly under the which is indented unless the NP or non-procurable separate. Quantities. The quantities listed and determined are as follows. The quantity listed for the assembly indicates the number of these assemblies used in per machine, with the exemption of sub-assemblies are treated as detailed parts. The quantity listed for the detailed parts indicates the number of the detailed parts used in per assembly. Prompt service information. When ordering, always include the following information: the machine serial number, the machine nameplate, the exact quantity of the assembly details, parts are desired, and identifying these parts as part number, part name, specified method of shipment is desired. Rush orders. A shipment of the repair parts urgently needed to make out the separate order of the need for the parts for the forward rush order will separate from any other orders requesting separate shipment. To avoid delays, please avoid references to the other materials and letters. Forward primarily for ordering repair parts. Forward all repair parts to the following address: Nordco, P.O. Box 561-562, Milwaukee, Wisconsin 53201. Fax 414-481-3199 or 4114-764607-46008.